Good morning. Hey, let's talk about social isolation. It is a big problem in retirement for those who have retired or about to retire, even the folks that will be retiring 20 years from now. It's all self relevant. Uh, as you can see today, we are in my house that is empty, getting emptier by the day. We are in the process of downsizing. For those of you that are new here, my name is Tiger, and we're in the process of downsizing and taking off, going someplace to find a new place to put roots, to travel, to see what this world has to offer, and just kind of get out of it and get away. So where our destination goes, I have no clue. I don't know how we're getting there, what we're going to be in, but we figure we'll take everybody along and share the journey as we do it. So anyhow, today I wanted to talk about social isolation. Social isolation and what are some of the indicators that make us fall into this pit trap, and then talk about some of the ways we can overcome these issues that we encounter. Not everybody falls into them. Some people have a better transition than other people, but for most retirees, we encounter these issues from time to time, especially in the beginning. The first year is usually the toughest. And when we have careers, we have jobs, we have these social circles, the social interactions created for us automatically. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to work at it. They're just magically, boom, and they're there, right? And when we retire, those social interactions, those social circles and networks we've had, typically, they're gone. They vanish. And a lot of times that can lead to depression, anxiety, loneliness, a sense of loss of value overnight, and it can be tough on retirees and people that get put in that position. So most retirees, I wouldn't even say retirees, I would say everybody, whether they're working or not, they underestimate the power and the wealth and the social interaction that we rely on for these social circles. And they can, we rely on them quite a bit for information, for mental health and whatever, the social cooler water talks and learning and sharing is caring type social norms for it just to vanish overnight. And it can be tough. During the COVID period, we did a lot of social distancing, and, virtual relationships became the norm. However, these social interactions that you have virtually, whether it's the phone and Zoom or whatever, they can't replace the in-person social interactions that you would have with actually being there than not being there. Now, sometimes you can't control it; it's out of your control. Like my wife, she keeps she's close to her family, her brothers, but they're in Louisiana and we're up in here in the DC area, and we don't have family up here, so she does a lot of the virtual communications almost daily. She does video calls with them every day, and for her, that's her way of being close and having a relationship and a connection with her brothers and stuff. And I kind of look forward to listening and seeing how their day goes. And we do go down there quite a bit, and that makes up for the virtual stuff. But again, the physical interaction is a lot more rewarding and beneficial than the virtual communications and interactions we have. So some of the folks that downsize, like I am, we're downsizing. There's RVers that are full-time nomads and road warriors. They have an special challenge, a very difficult challenge, I should say, with these social isolations, because the social interactions that they have to constantly make new connections, and those connections are for not very long. They might be for days or weeks. They're really never there for long term. Like you would have somebody, if you lived in a neighborhood or at work, or longtime friends. If you're on the road and on the go, I used to be a road warrior when I was working. I would fly to Miami, to San Antonio, to California. I flew everywhere every week, and you kind of lose that social connection. You always have to kind of make up social connections. And I would spend a lot of my time talking to like the staff at the hotel and whatever. I would build relationships with the people that are around me. And still today, I have a good number of friends that I love and respect and hold dearly. because I had to kind of go outside the norm and work on that. But it's definitely challenging and difficult, definitely when you don't have that community that you can rely and lean on every day. So I think the key thing to kind of think about and to take away, is having a social, healthy, how do you call it? Being socially healthy is just as important as having financial healthy. I guess words can be difficult, but let me try it again. Social health is just as important as financial health. It's just as equal, just as important. And I think some of the things that we need to look at to overcome these difficult obstacles that we can fall into and get trapped in and pulled away, like my dad, before he passed away, I was in the military, I was overseas, I was on ships and, deployed overseas my whole career. And even though I talked to him on the phone and had some interaction, I really didn't know what was going on. But what I've learned after, I got out and he passed away was even though he never sounded like it on the phone, when he retired, he didn't know how to combat that social dystopia that he lost when he was working. And he just kind of isolated and kind of withdrew further and further every year. And I didn't know until it was too late. So you don't want to get into that trap. And people that don't know what they don't know, and people often that social one-on-one interaction in person with people, you can learn a lot more and help and do things that you can't do unless if you're virtually over the phone or doing video chats. So you just don't know what's going on in other people's lives, just is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, some of the ways that we can combat this and overcome the depression, the loneliness, the withdrawals, the sense of no value, and all the other things, the gambit of emotions that we can go through, maybe we need to try to join a club or a group, a community or a hobby meetup, doing hobbies, like woodworking meetups or whatever. Do it in person, or even if you can't, do it online. Some of them are only online, but if you can do it in person, that's even better. But try to push yourself to do and join these groups. Maybe take a class, maybe take a workshop, woodworking workshop, a cooking class, where it's a bunch of couples and the chef's teaching you how to cook. I don't know, whatever. And, you have that social interaction, not just with your spouse, but with the chef, with other people that are in the class or whatever the class is. You're having that social interaction, and it kind of puts you outside your comfort zone if you're into that. I think scheduling one-on-one coffee meetups or luncheons with friends that are still working or whatever. And I would also kind of push to making the call yourself, and don't rely on them to reach out to you to have those luncheons. You want to make sure and foster those relationships. You don't know what's going on. Again, you don't know what's going on in their lives. I'm pretty sure they're busy and they got a lot going on. And by you reaching out to them, you're initiating that social interaction instead of waiting for it always to come to you. Again, you could take some workshops, some classes. If you're interested, do things that are that interest you. As long as they have some kind of a social element to it, it's worth doing, and you'll be happy doing it. I like the classes. I like the workshops. Learning to play music, doing art, learning language, fitness. There's all kinds of things that you can do that will foster this social engagement long into retirement. I joined a Spanish class, and I thought, they said beginner Spanish class. And I enjoyed talking to the people what I could, because, I'm trying to learn Spanish and everything. I thought this would be perfect, and I can actually work on my stuff. They were for class that said, hey, it was beginners. All they talked during the session was in Spanish, and I was just learning. I was beginning. Like, I know word agua, but I don't know much more than that. And these folks were in there to practice and hone what they already learned every day. So they didn't speak any English, during that time. That was kind of difficult for me. But that, if you're looking for something like that, that is a great way to have that interaction. You're doing it one-on-one, and you're learning, and you're actually gaining something out of it, other than just the social interaction that you have with people. You're learning, your mind growth, keeping that mental noggin healthy, and your physical health. Some other things you could do, like my wife, she likes to volunteer to cook for a battered women's shelter, whatever it is. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she enjoys volunteering. She feels happier and at peace knowing that she's helping people, and the bond that she gets by helping people is priceless. She feels good about it. Makes her feel good. Makes her feel complete. And she just recently stopped because we're downsizing. We're going to get moved, but she wants to get back into volunteering again. And it's not, she doesn't worry about it. Doesn't have to be cooking. It's whatever. She just wants to give back to other people because that's what makes her happy, and she likes that social interaction and gratification she gets for that. So look at something like that. It's great and very, very beneficial mentally and health, physically. There's apps. The last thing we have is apps. There's a Meetup, there's Twitter, X, Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call them now. There's other social apps out there that coordinate. Hell, even look on your community. The town we have a town page, and they have meetups and stuff all the time. They're doing different activities. Look at those community calendars. Go to the library and see what they got going on, and you'll find that there's all kinds of activities and things that are with like-minded people that you can meet up with and have those social interactions and build relationships with long into retirement. So with that, if you've encountered this before, where you fell into this trap, let me know in the comments down below how you fell into it or whatever, and what did you do to get out of it, or are you still there? I'm interested in knowing how many of us fall into this trap. My biggest one when I left Microsoft was everything was gone overnight. The community that I built and loved was gone overnight. I love everybody that I talked to and worked with. I love, sharing is caring has always been my motto. I love sharing my knowledge. I like others sharing their knowledge. I like being able to build and have success by building off the backs of others, and vice versa. And it gave me a sense of pride, and that was my way of giving back to the community by bringing people together and fostering that. And then now it's gone. And, I have to rebuild those relationships, and I try to find new ways to do things. And these are some of the things I've done. I looked at clubs, and I go and attend and do different things because I know it's important. And being isolated and lonely and falling into depression can only get worse if you don't take action on it. And if you know somebody that has fallen into that, help them, foster to get out of it. It's not a good rut to be in. So again, my final thought would be, social health, having a good social health is just as important as having a good financial health. So with that, I ask everybody to please subscribe and like and leave comments below. Supposedly it helps build my audience and algorithm and whatever it does. I don't know. But I thank you for taking the time to watch my videos and participate. And sorry, I didn't mean to spit. And I will see you guys on the next one. We'll talk about some other things that we can overcome as well, some of those challenges. So y'all take care.